Hi there, my name is Andrew Grubbs and we're giving you a presentation today on the advantages of new media over traditional media, as you can see from the PowerPoint slide in front of you. But before we get into that, I just had a quick question, and you don't have to think too long about it. I'm not trying to catch you off guard. I was just curious as to when the last time you think it was that you used the internet. See, I told you it wasn't going to be hard. The answer is using it right now in order to watch this video, because that's where it's posted on the internet. But chances are, even if you weren't watching this video, it wouldn't have been too far off since the last time you used the internet. Maybe it was a couple minutes ago, a few hours ago, yesterday, the day before, or you probably used it all the days before. It's become so essential to everyday life, whether it be professional or personal. It's hard for me personally to think of a day that's gone by where I haven't used the internet. Like I said, it's become essentially utility, almost like water and electricity. I get the most bent out of shape when the power goes out is because the internet has gone out. And that sort of leads me to what this presentation is about. It's about the advantages of new media over traditional media. And when we say new media and traditional media, as we can just get right into it, it's on this list of terms to sort of give you an idea of what we're going to be going over. Traditional media means television, magazine, newspapers, radio, whereas new media is essentially the internet. So think of those things when those terms come up. In order to analyze these two, I'm going to be using uses and gratifications theory, which is why a person uses a particular form of media and what needs they fulfill from using that form of media. So, for example, if you're watching Law and Order or something at home, that is fulfilling just to sort of relax and unwind. That's the need it's fulfilling. It's fulfilling that need to feel relaxed, and that's sort of what we're going to be talking about with traditional media and new media, is what needs do they fulfill and what is the most effective fulfiller of those needs. Also, media ecology is another theory I used when looking at my research, and this is looking at the media landscape as an environment, so in an ecosystem, so how the media, different media corporations or entities interact with themselves, and how outside forces also interact with media and how those things can be changing. So those are just sort of four terms to keep in mind when we're talking about these different things, because they're going to come up a lot, especially traditional media and new media. So let's just start with my research questions. Now, what I wanted to find out when looking at new or traditional media is, in what ways and to what extent, if any, has new media overtaken traditional media? Is this a foregone conclusion that the internet has just taken over all these older forms of media, or is it not? Or is it just becoming one of those other forms of media you could sort of lump in with it? And how much is content affected by new media? So the things that are being put out there, how greatly are they affected by this platform as opposed to the traditional platforms of traditional media? So let's start with uses and gratifications. New media creates new needs, and this comes from Sundar and Lampiros. And what this means is there's a certain set of needs that they identified that traditional media can fulfill. And then there was a set of needs that only new media can fulfill, and those needs are things like modality, which is how versatile your given medium is, or agency, how much control you have over your medium or the content, the interactivity, how much you can interact with or change the content you're looking at, and navigatability, how easy is it to get around from one platform to another, or from one piece of content to another. Sort of, if you're thinking about in terms of the internet, just surfing the web, I can go to CNN.com. I can then follow that up by going to Hulu or YouTube or Bleacher Report or any number of sites to do any number of different things. I can go to Stitcher and listen to a podcast, I can go to SoundCloud or Spotify and listen to music. And I could do that all relatively easy, with a click of the mouse. I can move around. And new media can fulfill all these needs, because traditional media can't come close to that type of accommodation. It doesn't have the agency or interactivity that you would find on the internet. If you're watching TV, it doesn't have a comment section below for you to interact with other users, or if you're reading a People magazine and you're tired of the article you're reading, you can't flip to the next page and find, your favorite TV show, whereas you can with the internet. So new media can fulfill all the needs of traditional media. When you think about it, you could pretty much do anything you want to do with traditional media on the internet. If you want to watch TV on the internet, you can. If you want to listen to music, you can. If you want to listen to sports talk radio, you can. If you want to read a book, it's there on the internet. We have ebooks. They're fantastic. If you want to read a magazine, People has a website. USA Today has a website. Us Weekly has a website. It's all on the internet. It's all aggregated there under one medium, whereas traditional media, it's not, and which limits its effectiveness. And frankly, it's why new media has become more appealing to younger people. Ayad states when he did a study at the United Arab Emirates to see which type of media, or which platform rather, students were more likely to gravitate to for various reasons, not just media causes, but for doing schoolwork or keeping up with friends and things like that. And overwhelmingly, the internet is sort of the number one answer. It's where they go for the most entertainment. It's where they go to satisfy the most of their needs, which can cause an idea we're going to talk about here in a second called media migration from Shad Cornfield and Oliver that we'll just pull up right here. And essentially what media migration is users or audience members will seek the most effective fulfiller of their needs. So if I can get my needs fulfilled better with the internet, then I'm going to go on the internet as opposed to a TV or a magazine or whatever. I'm going to find the most convenient and most effective way for me to fulfill my needs, because that in itself is sort of a need. Convenience and being efficient. Those are qualities we look for in our everyday life, and it's no different when we talk about media. And because new media has this greater versatility, adaptability, convenience, you can do so many things with it. It stands to reason that new media is the preferred destination to traditional media. And it could lead people away from traditional media because it is so effective. Now, when we talk about media ecology, we're talking more about companies sometimes and content. So that's sort of where this section's heading. Companies like Hulu Plus, Netflix, and YouTube are taking advantage of new media's benefits over traditional media. They see how convenient it is. For example, a company like Netflix using old content and using it in a new way. Like, for example, taking the entire series of Friends and putting it up on their site. So you have all the episodes of Friends right there in one spot. You don't have to get up and change DVDs. You don't have to wait through commercials. You can just stream it all, binge watch as many Friends episodes as you want. It's taking old content and presenting it in a new way, really taking advantage of the functionality of the internet, which again, we'll talk about in a little bit. A diversity of channels exist on the internet that create new opportunities. Anybody can put anything up on the internet at any time. If you have music, you don't have to go find a record company to get it produced. You can just put it on SoundCloud. If you have a video you want to share, you just put it on YouTube. It's created so much opportunity for content creators. It's really changed the marketplace. There are YouTube stars, which are a thing that never existed before. And really the life cycle of media platforms is addressed because media platforms are kind of like organisms. They need to adapt to survive, and they have an expiration date, just like we all do. Scolari would say. You need to adapt to survive. That's pretty much how it is. If you don't adapt, you're going to go extinct. And that is sort of where we're getting to with traditional media. Is there any way it could keep up with new media, or is it going to be able to find its own niche or go fall by the wayside, kind of like newspapers? I mean, that's the closest we have currently of a form of media to going extinct. So traditional media needs to adapt and survive, and new media has to keep growing, and companies need to adapt and survive if they want to still be around. The internet is the best position because it overlaps with every facet of traditional media, something I said previously. It's so multifaceted and so a part of every one of those things. You could do everything from radio, books, magazines, TV. It's all there on the internet, whereas the internet doesn't whereas traditional media doesn't really overlap with the internet in the same way. And that's why it's in the best evolutionary position, because of its ability to fulfill needs so effectively, and traditional media's ability to not. Which brings you to Netflix, which I wanted to talk about for my case study. Sort of an example of a company that's thriving in this new media climate. So we're going to take a quick look at the company overview, their growth and strategy, and their relation to new media, how this all ties in. So let's go ahead and start with the company overview. Netflix was founded in 1977 by current CEO Reed Hastings and Mark Rudolph, who is no longer with the company. I think he left in 2002, something like that. And it started as not the streaming sort of video-based service we know it as today, but as a subscription-based mail DVD service. So what that means is you pay a monthly fee. You would tell Netflix what DVDs you want to watch, and they'd send them to you in the mail. When you were done, you'd send them back, and they'd send you more from your list. Instead of doing that, they're currently a subscription-based streaming video service, which means whatever you want to watch is there for you whenever you want. Again, you just pay the monthly fee. And currently they have over 69 million subscribers worldwide, and that's from their website. And you can take a look here at this chart that I pulled from the internet. I think Yahoo Facts or something like that had a chart of other streaming services like Amazon Instant Video, Spotify, and Hulu Plus, and shows Netflix being far and away the leader in all these categories. Now, a lot of these other companies listed here are newer, which is one of the reasons why Netflix is so far ahead, but it's also a real testament to Netflix being able to adapt and survive and see where the trends are going. And if we look at their corporate growth, see how they're doing great things about publicly traded companies, as all their financial information is available because they're publicly traded. You could buy stock in Netflix if you wanted to. But this is just a 5-year graph that I pulled up a few days ago, or a couple weeks ago. It says right there the date, November 17th, that shows Netflix since about 2012 has been steadily going up, which is a very strong indicator with subscriptions and with being more global. That's no surprise that their stock has done nothing but essentially rise in these past 5 years it's been on the market. Which brings me to their strategy. The biggest part of it, I think, or one of the biggest parts I should say, is convergence. Being available on so many different devices. My iPhone, or if you had an Android device, you could get Netflix, or a tablet, or your smart TV, or your gaming console if you had a PlayStation or an Xbox or a Wii. Or even just devices that are dedicated to streaming, like a Roku or a Chromecast or an Apple TV. All these things you can get Netflix on, which is insane medium convergence. It makes it so incredibly convenient, which is a huge part of their strategy, as well as legitimate original content and a large content library. Now, what I mean by legitimate original content is it's original content that is accepted by the mainstream to be good. Things like House of Cards and Orange is the New Black. You see Kevin Spacey sitting on a chair over there. These are two shows that Netflix has put out that has won Emmys. The first time ever a strictly web-based TV show has won an Emmy, which is crazy to think, and really a testament to how legitimate Netflix really is. And if you look on Netflix today, you can see they have a very large array of original content, which is another part of the plan. It's one thing to just be a content distributor, but to create the content yourself and distribute it is sort of a necessary step in their growth and plan. Just sort of to tie it all together, Netflix has used new media perfectly. It sees how convenient it is. It sees how permeable it is and how everywhere it is. And they've taken advantage of that. They've shifted their business model from mail-based to internet-based with the way technology sort of evolves, and they've stayed on top of that, which has helped them grow and adapt as a company. Like I said, they've changed as a company, and it's become a great fulfiller of media needs. And clearly from the stocks issue, they're thriving in the current climate. Overall, just a really smart company that sort of sees this wave of new media, and they hopped on. Hopefully, this is a helpful illustration to some of the points I made earlier about the advantages of new media to traditional media. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. And thank you so much for your time.